The maximum speed my bike will do, throttle only, no pedal input, is 6 miles an hour. 6, that's it. It doesn't matter if you're in level 1 or level 4. 6 miles an hour is all my throttle will do if you are not pedaling. Howdy. I figured this may make a good first video for this channel. Maybe not. I guess we'll find out, huh? So obviously, e-bikes have taken the world by storm. And there's a lot of discussions right now over regulation. And I have put a lot of thought into this subject because I think it's important to be fair to everybody involved and at the same time preserve safety for everyone involved. Safety is not just about yourself. Safety is also about the risk that you may or may not put others in. And that's something that we really need to make sure we think about. So when it comes to the topic of regulating power, for instance, of e-bikes, wattage is what comes up with that the most. Is that the right approach? I'm not so sure. See, generally when you buy an e-bike, say just a Amazon e-bike, Walmart e-bike, generally you have an expectation out of the different choices you have. For instance, 36 volt bikes typically aren't advertised to go as fast as, say, 48 volt bikes. Now, you have to understand, we're talking in common common bikes here. The reason why I point out that distinction is because your voltage nor your wattage is the only factor in any of this, okay? You can absolutely make a 36 volt bike. You can make a 36 volt bike 500 watt outrun a 1000 watt 48 volt bike, okay? Because you have a lot of other factors in play. Gearing, how many windings in the motor. I mean, there are just a number of things in play. So we have to be careful when we go after rating or limiting ratings such as wattage or voltage, because the manufacturers will find their ways around this stuff. Okay? And that's what they've been largely doing the entire time. So again, that's really probably not the best way. If safety is the goal here, then maybe the power, whether it be voltage or wattage, isn't the best approach. So with safety in mind, the things that people claim to want to fix, if you will, are issues like speed, top end. Okay? Now, Illinois is kind of an interesting state because our rule here is slightly different than most of the country, and I don't think a lot of people here even realize that. But in the state of Illinois, the way it works is this. A Class 1 e-bike, I believe it can only do 15 miles an hour, and it's only pedal assist, no throttle. So 15 mile an hour top end and no throttle. A Class 2 e-bike in the state of Illinois can do a maximum of 20 miles an hour, and you can do that with throttle only if you would like. So in other words, you don't even have to pedal, just throw back the throttle, 20 miles an hour, Class 2. Now here's where things get different in Illinois. Technically, in Illinois, Class 3, you're not allowed to have a throttle. You're allowed to go up to 28 mile an hour, but you're not supposed to have a throttle. Not in Illinois. That's where Illinois differs from most of the other states. But is that the answer? And I don't think most people know about that little caveat here in Illinois. Is that the answer? Just getting rid of throttles? Is that going to fix it? Yeah, it would. It would certainly fix the problem. But it wouldn't be fair. And it would create other problems. It would be hard to argue that the people that benefit most from e-bike technology are the elderly and disabled. Now, I'm speaking from a position, I really do not like to use the word disabled, but I've got COPD. I've got moderate COPD. I have health issues. I have joint issues. I cannot get on a regular bike and ride. I can't do it. I might get a couple of blocks, but then I'm going to be stopping and catching my breath. That's just the way it is. I specifically sought out a torque sensing mid drive. A lot of it initially was because I wanted to learn the system, because I wanted to see how it felt, because those things. Then I wrote it. And I realized this is an e-bike. This is what an e-bike is supposed to do. I was trying to explain to Jen about how my bike functions because it's kind of odd. I have a throttle, for those that don't know. But at no point in time can I ever throw my throttle back and just cruise on up to 28 mile an hour. That ain't happening. Because the throttle is not the only thing that my motor controller is looking at when it determines how much power that it applies to the motor. So if I'm going up a hill and it gets hard for me to pedal, I have no throttle, it's hard for me to pedal. Let's say I downshift 2 or 3 gears and I apply throttle. Keeping my cadence, keeping my pedaling, right? But little to no actual pressure on the pedals, letting the motor do the work, most of the work. If I was doing, say, 13 mile an hour at that point to where I downshifted and commanded the throttle and lightened up the pressure on the pedals, that bike is going to keep me right at about 13 mile an hour, full throttle, half throttle, regardless. The only way that I'm going to get that bike to go any faster is by applying more pressure to the pedals. Now, when I apply more pressure to the pedals and I speed up, it's a combination of both me and an increase of power to the motor. See, the motor controller senses that more pressure to the pedal and applies more power to the motor. I'm working harder, so it works harder. And your speed will increase. But it won't jump up to 28 mile an hour. It'll just increase a little, dependent upon how much pressure you're putting on the pedal. Put a little more pressure on the pedal, you'll go a little faster. It is, in my opinion, the best system for an e-bike. And I did not mention this in the video so far, my apologies. The maximum speed my bike will do, throttle only, no pedal input, is 6 miles an hour. 6, that's it. It doesn't matter if you're in level 1 or level 4. 6 miles an hour is all my throttle will do if you are not pedaling. That's an important distinction. I want to solve this problem because there is a problem. But it needs to be fair. Our town was discussing banning e-bikes in the public parks, in the city parks altogether, which I find to be wholly unfair. But we got to figure out something. I don't think banning throttles is the answer. I don't think stricter limits on wattage or voltage is the answer. I think the answer is in the pedal assist system. We need to stop allowing the quote-unquote e-bikes to run even remotely full tilt, throttle only. That 6 is great. If you need a little bit of assistance, if you're not actually on the bike, that's what they kind of call it. They call it like a walk mode. That's great. And one of the things I like about it is that, unlike, the cadence sensing bikes and stuff, the damn thing don't just take off like a rocket. We have to find a fair way to make this safe for everybody involved. Because these throttle bikes are an issue. They really truly are. I don't think a lot of people understand what kind of damage a 100-pound vehicle can do when it hits something else at 20 miles an hour. It's ugly. It's ugly. And I don't believe in wrapping myself up in bubble wrap before I go out for a ride. I don't wear a helmet. I don't wear elbow pads. Lord forbid I don't wear funky looking bicycling shorts. I'm not going to wear a helmet. I'm not going to wear elbow pads. Damn straight not going to wear those bicycle pants. We need to think about the safety of others. I can't come up with a better solution, but I'm asking y'all's input.